look, hard time is real, right? 24 hours in a day. I think it's real, but I think you're barking up the right tree, right? Which is, a lot of people ask me how much I sleep. And when I say 6 to 7 hours, a lot of them get confused. You know, they think that's too much. And I laugh because I always tell them it's not what I'm doing other than what I'm doing when I'm awake, right? It's what you do in those 18 hours, not what you do in your rest time. Yeah. And I think that for me, I'm going 24/7, 365 hard on that 18 hours. You know, there's no time to watch a funny video on YouTube or things of that nature. And yeah, I think it's around determination and passion and being excited. And I couldn't, you know, when I think back to being in school, how lazy I was, how much I sucked, it was because I didn't believe in it. And right. So now I understand when people don't believe in their job or what their entrepreneurial venture is, it makes sense to me that they're not grinding. For me, it's a foregone conclusion. I found my zone and I'm gonna go as hard as I can. So yeah, I think they're both right. You know, I think we all have relationships and you have families and there's all these things pulling at you. But I always tell people, like, I'm out of balance because if I wasn't, I would suffocate, right? Like, right. I can't do the thing that you want me to do that's currently politically correct. I can't do 9 to 5. It's just not who I am. I'd be unhappy, and if I'm unhappy, then the whole thing's broken. Nobody's gonna do well if I'm in a bad spot. Everybody's an entrepreneur now. Yeah. It's really great to be an entrepreneur. It's really cool. Let me give you the steps you need to do. You need to open an Instagram account. And in your bio, you put CEO. Like, you know, super, super great. You know, I love how everybody's like, I'm an entrepreneur. That's like me saying I'm a basketball player. There's a difference between being paid to be a professional basketball player and doing the shit that you and I did a couple weeks ago in the gym where we were huffing and puffing, right? Yeah. Being an entrepreneur is awesome, and I want everybody to try it or be romanced by it, but don't be delusional. There's only a few that actually win at the levels that everybody, you know, the watches and the private jets are for a small group, and then there's only another group that's bigger that can actually afford to live their lives that way, and you have to be mentally strong. It's scary, it's by yourself. I'm dying to see what happens when shit hits the fan, because I want to first see who's really an entrepreneur, who's not. You know, who's willing to live in a studio apartment after they have to sell their fancy LA house because they overextended themselves? And now, are they gonna go work at Bank of America? Or are they gonna live super humbly in a studio with 4 of their homies instead of that awesome place with all the bikinis at the, you know, pool? Like where, you know, and so who's gonna grind? You know what's funny? I'd much rather run my own businesses and make $80,000 a year than not and make $1 million a year. I just can't breathe. It's all I've ever known. That's the thing. I don't know how many people right now that call themselves founder, CEO, and entrepreneur. If I said, here's $2 million a year being a banker, right? Or here's 86,000 flinging your hats and t-shirts, I just think most of them take the 2 million, at least the ones I've been coming across the last 3 or 4 years. That's the difference. When I was 29, 28, and building this big liquor store in New Jersey, I was making $47,000 a year. I didn't have anything cool. I wasn't in the clubs in New York City. My friends who were working at Wall Street and Goldman and all those things, or consulting or other things, they were making 150, 200,000, and they were, right? And I was happy. Yeah. Too many people are envious. Right now, the entrepreneur is the thing that so many envy. And I'm scared that when the market corrects, people are gonna be lost. This is what's interesting to me. This is the thing I'm trying to dissect. Who's in it because they're in it, and who's in it because it's the trend. And let's not get it twisted. There's an enormous amount of people listening even to this podcast right now that are in it because it's on trend. And by the way, it's easy. You can say you're a rapper or an athlete, but you can easily see that you're not by the actions of that. Entrepreneurship is hidden. Entrepreneurship is kind of like you say it on your gram account, and then you kind of can look the part. You can go to the parties. You can go to the conferences. Like, you can trick it way more than a lot of other things. And so I'm saying this very carefully. Listen to me. If you know deep down that you're being exposed by this rant, here's a smart move. Before the world collapses, Go figure out who you think is actually gonna survive that. Who are the wartime generals? Let me remind a lot of you, the 84th employee at Facebook is gonna make much more money than the founder of almost every company that's gonna be invented over the next 5 decades. So the one advantage is the access to these winners that you've never seen before. So if you are listening right now and saying, fuck you, Gary, like I got this, I'm gonna do it, then do it. Stick it to my face. I can't wait to get the email from you 5, 6, 7, 8 years from now. But if you're listening and saying, it's true, because I wasn't into being a businessman or woman when I was a junior in high school, right? I was gonna be this, I was gonna be an architect, I was gonna go to Harvard, I was gonna be a banker. If that's you, give a real thought to this, because we've seen this in 2001 and 2008. Shit is very ugly, and it's a 10-year, 7-year, 5-year step back. Or you could take advantage of the window we're in right now and take advantage of the fruitful times and the access to these A+ generals, and I would jump on those boats if I were you. I think a lot of people would be stunned how much money I leave on the table every day. Because my number one KPI is how many people show up to my funeral. The end. Period, end of story. And there's nothing even remotely close. The whole ambition for the New York Jets is a distant second, and all the short-term stuff, I don't think people understand. Like, I don't care about that. Like, I really don't give a fuck about money. And now person listening's like, oh, easy for you to say. No, you've got to go look at what my life was. Like when I was building Wine Library, I didn't care either. You know, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28-year-old dudes, when they built a $45 million business, don't tend to pay themselves $40,000. They don't, because they know that those dollars can get them what they want. Girls, fun. I am obsessed with my legacy, which means I'm trying to give more than I'm taking on a daily basis. Plus, I know I'm good enough to get mine without taking from somebody else. So I'm running a marathon. My only vulnerability, my kryptonite, is being regretful in my 70s or 80s when I have less in the tank, and I might say, oh, I left too much on the table. And that's something I think a lot about. Yeah. I think a lot about being 80, 90, and saying, you know, it wouldn't have been a bad idea to take a little more. But I'm hopeful that doesn't transpire, because I think so far I feel very confident that both are gonna get theirs, right? Yeah. I'm gonna get mine, and the people that interact with me are gonna get theirs from me. And I think that has a lot to do with why I put out so much content. What I'm worried about is there's a lot of people listening right now and saying, okay, easy for you guys to say. And what I always tell these kids is, you don't understand. That's how we got to that place. Yeah. You know, like everyone's like, easy for you, easy for you. Like, I'm just fascinated by people's lack of patience. Like, I didn't even, you know, and I know we live in a social media world and everybody's getting all these things flashed at them, but it's crazy. I'll never forget the day I started working full-time in the liquor store. I was 22, and I remember saying to myself, literally the first day, like, I'd been working in the stores for 8 years since I was 14, but this is it. I'm done with college. I actually worked few hours when I drove home from college my last day, but the next day was the first day. It was so weird. I hated school my whole life. And that was it. Like, I walked into the liquor store and I never had to go to school again. It was like crazy. It was the best day of my life. And I'll never forget, I remember saying, okay, I'm not gonna say a word for the next decade. I'm not gonna talk to my friends. This is real. And I didn't. My high school and college friends are very weirded out by me. I just went in a cocoon and I just worked every minute. And I didn't even think about popping out until I was 32. Not a word, not a peep, not a party, nothing. And now I've got kids emailing me like, Gary, thank you so much. I love your videos. You inspire me when I'm super down. I almost gave up last week. Yeah, I've been doing my new business for about 4 months and I hit a real wall. I'm like, what's the matter with you? 4 months? You didn't hit a wall. You haven't even gotten out the gate. You're not even in the car. You're like still sleeping in your bed. I just really want to push patience and the long game. All this relationship talk you and I have been doing, it's all long game. Yep. You're either playing for life or you're playing for the few minutes ahead of you. And again, this keeps going back over and over in my mind to what other people think. Too many people right now, I mean, social media has become the place where everybody is a PR agent of themselves. You're PRing yourself. And I get it. You know, like I get people want, you know, to hook up and to have fun. I get everything. I get it. but it is creating ungodly short-term behavior, which is not allowing people to really win the game. And by the way, that's the punchline. Like, this is a mental game. Like, there's just nothing else. But let me get real practical. You know, I've been putting out a lot of for the last 5 or 6 years, and I'm starting to see the themes of what's actually working. Here's a big one. If you're not feeling it, find new friends. I'm being dead serious about this. This one is real big for me. Who you hang out with is a huge deal. And again, these are all tried and true things, right? We've heard you're the whatever of the 5 friends you spent. Like, that's real. That one, put in the bank. Like, if you're not feeling it, you need to go to meetup.com and go to 10 meetups of people that are hungry. Like, it's unbelievable what happened to me when I got into the Silicon Valley world and started meeting like Mark Zuckerberg and like Ev Williams and like Travis. Like, it changed my life. This town, actually, it's fun for me to tell this story here. South by Southwest 2007 changed my life because I hung out. I forced myself to go to a Web 2.0, which later became social media, the current state of the internet conference, South by Southwest. And I was looking at all these kids. And by the way, this is when tech wasn't cool, straight nerds, but they were trying to change. They weren't here for kicks and giggles. They weren't here to hook up. They were here to like change the world. Like, I'm gonna build a product that is gonna be in every single person's hand. Like, and they have. Like, the Twitters and the Facebooks and the Ubers, they did. And it was the biggest impact of my career, and it's something I think a lot about now. So anyway, real practical. If you feel motivated by this conversation or you're intrigued by it, add one new winner friend. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? 100%. Add one new winner friend and cut one loser friend. Like, yeah, I know he's been your boy since 4th grade, but he sits at home and smokes weed and plays 2K all day. Like, you can only love him so much.
you.